Welcome back to Haggadah Dvar Torah with Rabbi Fleischmann. We're going to talk now about the portion of the Haggadah that starts with Baruch HaMakom Baruch Hu. That's the introduction to the part about the four sons. Now we know we have the Chacham, the Rasha, the Tam, and the She'eno Yodei Lishol, right? So this introduction of Baruch HaMakom Baruch Hu actually is necessary for a number of different reasons, and we're going to explore why the things are written the way they're written in this whole section in this Dvar Torah. So if you take a look at the Baruch that it says Baruch HaMakom Baruch Hu, Baruch Shenatan Torah L'Amo Yisrael, right? It says all these different Baruchs, and the question is, why are those words repeated so often in the introduction to the four sons? Well, the four sons includes, each one of them includes a pasuk from the Torah. And we know that if you're going to be quoting psukim from the Torah, you're going to be learning any kind of Torah, you need to say Birchot Torah. So most of us, having davened in the morning, will have said Birchot Torah as part of our davening. But let's say you may have forgotten to say it, or you, for whatever reason, you didn't say your Birchot Torah. This idea of saying Baruch HaMakom, Baruch Hu, Baruch, 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 over and over again, that's sort of, we're stopping short of saying the actual bracha because we don't want to repeat ourselves saying a bracha asking, about Birchot Torah. But for those of us that didn't say Birchot Torah, this covers the requirement to say Birchot Torah before we start learning all these psukim. Okay, so that's one aspect of it, right? Why all these baruchs before we introduce the four sons? And so we've covered that. But now let's talk about what the actual text is saying and what the four sons is doing here in the Haggadah. The Sfas Emes, or the Sfat Emet, as you might call him, but I like Sfas Emes because it's easier to say. He has some interesting things to say about the purpose of the Arba Banim, about what they're doing here in the Haggadah, and he says that they're actually connected to something else that is represented by the number four. The four aspects of redemption, the four lashonot, the languages of redemption. What are those four? The hotzeti, the hitzalti, the ga'alti, the lakachti. Those are the four aspects of redemption, and we're going to break each one of those down and show how they apply to the Chacham. To the four sons. So the Chacham, he wants to know what God's purpose was for making Pesach. So we tell him that it's a divine lesson that's supposed to stay with us forever. That's the hotzeti. That, like, this is, God took us out of Mitzrayim, and so that applies to the hotzeti. Then the Tam just wants to know what happened, so we tell him the story. The hitzalti, right? That's the whole story of God saving us, which encompasses a lot of different details, is summed up by the hitzalti. And so we tell him the story, and that's how that aspect of redemption is connected to Tam. The Rasha wants to know, he only wants to know what he can gain out of our deliverance from Mitzrayim and what's in it for him. And so we say, if that's all that's in it for you, then you can't have any part of redemption. And that actually is what it says in the Haggadah text, right? Ilu hayiti sham lo hayita nigal, right? That if you were there, you would not have been redeemed. So v'ga'alti, that's our third language of redemption. And now the she'eno yodei lishol, he's silent because the only thing that could impress him enough to talk is the idea of like good triumphing over evil, on such a large scale. And he can't see that today. So instead we remind him of the Heveti, that if we observe the laws of Pesach, the triumph of good versus evil will come about. And the Heveti, like bringing you to Eretz Yisrael, will finally accomplish that ultimate goal, Mashiach and all that stuff, of good winning over evil. And that is how each of the four sons is connected to the four aspects of redemption. And that's also another reason why they are here in the Haggadah. But another cool thing, one last little bit about the four sons, is that each of the four sons can actually connect to each of the four cups. And the questions that they ask connect to them as well. So, for instance, the Chacham, he wants to know what God's purpose in the world is, right, as we discussed, and that's connected to Kiddush, the first cup. The second cup, which comes at Magid, is about the story of the Exodus. As we know, the Tam... and the Tam just wants to know the story. So that's exactly what we're doing in Magid. And Birkat, the cup that we drink at Birkat Hamazon, it talks about the benefit we get from the world and food, right? Benefit we get from food. That connects to the Rasha because he wants to know what's in it for him and all that stuff. And we talk about the benefit that we receive from Hashem and thanking him for that. And Hallel, the final redemption, that final triumph over good versus evil, connects to the Eino Yodei Lish'ol, as we mentioned earlier. So I hope that you enjoyed this Dvar Torah on the 4 sons. Just to recap, we discussed in general why the Lashon of Baruch HaMakom is used to introduce the 4 sons. We then connected the 4 sons to the 4 aspects of redemption. And then we finally showed how the 4 sons connect to the Arba Kosot in the Seder. Thank you very much, and have a great day.